I could make an entire course about the different strategies that brands and advertisers use to get you to buy, but I want to keep the focus on paid social like Facebook ads and TikTok ads, and specifically the strategies that I've seen work here again and again to scale ad accounts. But let's first address something, right? These strategies, they're strategic. These are what I like to call big swings. You're not going to see an us versus them, before and after ad, or features point out ad here. In fact, the whole idea behind these strategies is that they can actually be utilized in several different formats. And the reason why I wanted to create this lesson, if you feel like you need to do something major to get more from your Facebook ads, you probably do. And what that thing likely is you need to take a much bigger swing when it comes to your creative strategy. So we're gonna go over these strategies today and also talk a little bit about the psychology behind them that give them the ability to have massive impact on our ad campaigns. So let's dive in. The first one is negative marketing. And I actually think the best description I've seen of negative marketing comes from HubSpot. Negative marketing is a tactic that traditionally taps into negative emotions such as fear, irritation, anger, or sadness in order to elicit a response from the consumer, often in favor of what a brand offers or against what a brand opposes or competes with. And also, let's just simplify this a bit. You don't have to be for or against something particularly to use negative marketing. You can actually just use a negative statement in your hook to attract that attention. In fact, I've run really strict A/B tests where one ad creative was using a negative statement versus a positive one. And I've seen in several different occasions where the negative one actually won out over the positive one. And I'm going to be honest, I've noticed that a lot of brands and advertisers are scared to try this strategy because of some moral obligation to be positive and not negative, because they think that being negative is going to create this negative community and this negative energy, and it's going to be bad for the ads and bad for the... No. Honestly, you are missing out on a really core strategy and a really unique way to reach people if you are completely saying, no, I'm not going to do this. You could do something as easy like this Dr. Squatch ad, 3 reasons to avoid Dr. Squatch. It's honestly way more engaging than the 3 reasons to try Dr. Squatch, which we see again and again and again. People are like, wait, why shouldn't I try this? And I thought this ad by Selfmade was really interesting. They actually took a critique that someone had of their brand and went into explaining, hey, here's actually how we're trying to make that better. This could be seen as advertising something negative. Another brand that is amazing at this strategy is Overnight Oats. And the reason why they're so good at it is because they add a little bit of humor into it too. They're not afraid to poke fun at themselves and also, agitate the person who wrote that review a little bit. I personally get a kick out of it. The second strategy is the use of celebrities or big creators. Now, before you skip this section because you think, hey, using celebrities isn't attainable for me, or I'm not interested, or you've heard a ton of horror stories about a brand that invested a ton of money working with a celebrity or a big influencer with no sales, I hear you, I hear all that, and I have also experienced all that. However, I do think that there is a time and place to lean into working with celebrities and bigger influencers. So let me tell you a little bit about celebrity marketing. They actually did a study recently where they were looking at the use of celebrities in marketing campaigns to determine, hey, how useful or beneficial is this to brands? And what they found out was really interesting. Number 1, the use of celebrities definitely works. It increased the trust that people had and also reduced the amount of time that people are making the decision to buy. However, the product endorsement by that celebrity needs to be believable and authentic. So this Hexclad example with Gordon Ramsay, this is a really great example of a product and a celebrity that is a really natural fit and is super believable. Now, what's interesting is I've actually suggested to a few brands recently, hey, maybe you should look into doing a celebrity endorsement. And the reason why is because when you start to reach $1 million per month in ad spend, $2 million per month in ad spend, and this isn't something that you've tried before, that's a major growth lever that I see as an opportunity for a brand if this is something that they had not done before. Really, at that point, you have targeted most of the people in the US as long as you've been maintaining that ad spend for a long amount of time. But what I tend to see is that brands will go up to the $1 million per month mark or $2 million, and they will have a bit of a seesaw effect with their ad spend day to day, week to week, month to month, and results aren't as consistent. So really they're looking to get more juice out of their advertising campaign. So they're generally, going to start thinking about retail. But I also suggest, hey, if you really do want more of that D2C juice and you want to have more trust with people that you've already targeted in many ways and really get some more of those eyeballs, a celebrity endorsement could work here. Number 3 is overcoming objections. And if you are going to consider testing any of these strategies ASAP, this is the one that I would choose as well as the last one. The reality is that your customers are going to have reasons for why they do not want to buy from you. And that's if they're even interested in your product. In fact, many users are actually looking for reasons to not buy your product, especially in today's economy, right? If someone can find a reason for why they don't need a product or service, they're probably going to jump at that opportunity, especially now, to save some money. So one of the most successful strategies I've seen recently is to directly call out those objections. This is called objection handling, which is a really common sales tactic. So common objections can include price, that's a big one. Lack of trust, so people who haven't heard of you, or maybe they're concerned about you being legit, or they saw you had a bad review, or they're already using a competitor or evaluating a competitor, or maybe they just don't see the value. And in order to figure out what objections your potential customers have, your ad comments are going to be a gold mine for this information. People are going to directly tell you why they don't want to buy from you. And I'd say that this is a must-test strategy, especially if price is an issue. I mean, this was the whole reason why Adams did this really famous ad right here. They wanted to explain, hey, this is why our shoes aren't the cheapest price. And in doing so, they were able to, number one, tell their piece and explain their reasoning for it, but they were also able to signal to customers who were more right for them and also get rid of the people who were never going to buy anyways. Number 4 is taboo advertising. So I recently did an entire YouTube video about taboo advertising, which I highly suggest that you watch. I'll be sure to leave it in the description. And the reason why I actually dedicate an entire YouTube video to it is because it is that effective. Essentially, what taboo advertising does is it uses a taboo to attract attention to a product or service. Taboo advertising is also core to many brands who have recently had unicorn scale to the moon ads. I'm talking about ads that have been running for like a year plus. Many times they have a taboo angle. And essentially the reason why taboo advertising works is because we don't expect to see this type of messaging on social media or really anywhere outside of our own personal heads, right? It's a taboo. And of course, some products can be taboo as well. Some common taboos that advertisers explore include sex, death, money, certain societal ways. But of course, not all taboos should be explored. Some taboos should just be left where they are in taboo land. If you want a bigger deep dive on this, be sure to watch the YouTube video. Number 5 is the educational knowledge share. There are 2 types of educational angles that you can take for your ad creative, and this is much more of just about a straight on educational share. And therefore, it's purely educational content and little to no selling should be involved. You'd be shocked at how well this type of thing works. I've personally seen many of these ads become top performers for brands, even without mentioning the product or brand in the ad. So why does this work? Simply put, this is a content-first approach that is doing nothing but providing value to the end user. Additionally, it doesn't really feel like an ad because it isn't one. Instead of doing super direct response marketing, this is kind of like the inbound marketing strategy, right? You're creating content to attract the right people, and then they take it upon their own initiative to learn more about you and then eventually purchase. And I'd say that this is a really great strategy for brands and companies that need a little bit more warming up and discovery. So things like supplements, wellness, fitness, this is also super common in B2B. A note that I often see these in a sort of listicle format. The 6th type of strategy is an educational tutorial. So very similar to the educational knowledge share, but this one is actually teaching people how to do something. It is a tutorial-based ad creative. So essentially, you're taking your users through a step-by-step process. This is incredibly common in things like beauty and skincare. And it's another really good way to show your product in a way that doesn't feel too salesy. Again, this one and the knowledge share one are super content-first approaches. So if I remember working with a brand and I see, okay, they've done a really good job of testing different formats and testing different UGC creators and strategies with their creator content, but maybe something isn't quite hitting, That's often a signal to me that, hey, maybe they need a little bit more educational content in their arsenal. So that's when I would make the decision to make some more educational based content. Number 7 is personal storytelling. And essentially what this does is this strategy takes personal storytelling or personal histories from the perspective of the user and really goes intimately into the problems that they had and the unique ways that your product or service helps solve them. This was a really common strategy that I used to see in commercials in the early 2000s, especially with pharmaceuticals. And really what you need to do here is this. You need to be sure to start your ad creative with an I statement. And here you're often going to be sharing something deeply personal or intimate about that person. And I've seen this being used in UGC is particularly powerful. So if you feel like your brand right now is struggling with social proof or maybe some negative reviews, this is a really good one to try. This is because a major problem that you might be having is that people might feel like you're not trustworthy, or they might have had their judgment clouded by some negative reviews. And I've also found that really the more intimate types of personal stories and personal histories that you can share, the better, because it really does help to build that more emotional connection with your users. And number 8, the final one, is founder stories. Now I know you've definitely heard of this one before and you've probably considered it to be a format in the past, which is definitely the way that I used to look at it. I thought, oh, a founder's format ad. But I found that this strategy is actually way more strategic than I initially thought, because this is really the ultimate way to pull back the curtain on your brand. So here's why this works. Number 1, people are fascinated by entrepreneurship and business owners. And number 2, people are way more interested in buying from people. So instead of saying, oh yeah, I'm a huge fan of Cuts, they'll be like, oh yeah, Steve from Cuts, I buy from him. The age of the nameless corporation isn't really something that people are interested in, especially in 2023. We also have a deep desire to learn more about the brands that we're champions about. Back to that human desire about curiosity, right? And number 3, founders are often most uniquely positioned to clearly communicate their brand's value props as well as the problems that they're trying to solve. They also tend to have a really personal story for why they wanted to create their brand in the first place, which is something that people will also connect with. Back to that personal storytelling. I often give brands the suggestion to try out founders ads because I've seen them work so well across several different industries. Feeling a little bit smarter? I'll see you in the next and final lesson of this module.